Have you ever found yourself wondering if you truly need friends as you get older? You might have spent years surrounded by people, going to social gatherings, and maintaining friendships that, at times, felt more like obligations than genuine connections. But what if I told you that after 70, the pressure to maintain a large circle of friends can hold you back from experiencing true peace and fulfillment? In this video, we're going to uncover why friendships aren't as necessary in your later years, and how letting go of the ones that no longer serve you could be one of the best decisions for your well-being. From regaining your personal freedom and valuing your time more, to reducing disappointment and finding true companionship within yourself, there are powerful reasons to reconsider what friendship means as you age. Stick with us until the end, because this shift in perspective could not only change the way you see relationships, but also completely transform your approach to life in your later years. By the end of this video, you might find yourself embracing the idea that true happiness doesn't come from a crowded social calendar, but from living life on your terms, with peace, independence, and the joy that comes from being at ease with yourself. So, if you're ready to learn why letting go of unnecessary friendships might just be the key to unlocking a more fulfilling life, grab a seat and keep watching. You don't want to miss these insights. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Number 1. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. One of the greatest gifts of aging is the beautiful realization that you don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. For so many years, life revolved around seeking approval, gaining social validation, and chasing after the ever-elusive sense of belonging. We all know what it's like to look for acceptance in the eyes of others, whether it was impressing colleagues at work, maintaining a tight-knit social circle, or ensuring that you were invited to the latest gatherings. There was this constant pressure, an undercurrent of anxiety that dictated many of our choices. We were driven by the fear of not measuring up, by the relentless need to be liked, to be seen, to be valued by others. But here's the thing, as we reach the later chapters of life, we realize that we've already lived through that phase. Those days of striving for external validation, they're behind us, and it feels incredibly freeing. You've already created your legacy, you've already proven yourself, and now it's time to let go of the baggage of others' opinions. The opinions of people who barely understand your journey or the weight of your experiences don't hold the same weight they once did. You've seen enough, learned enough, and come to understand that true fulfillment, the kind that feeds the soul, doesn't come from seeking approval from the outside world. Comes from within. It's about self-respect, self-love, and the unshakable confidence that you are enough just as you are. Remember the times when you worried so much about whether you were liked or respected, about chasing friendships based on status or reputation. When you were younger, you might have gone through the motions of keeping up with the latest trends or working hard just to maintain an image. But as you grow older, the clarity becomes undeniable. None of that truly matters. People spend their whole lives chasing approval, but they often forget the most important thing. They already have everything they need within themselves. Take someone like Harold, a man in his early 70s. For most of his life, Harold was focused on climbing the corporate ladder, surrounded by colleagues, acquaintances, and what he thought were friends. These relationships, however, were more about convenience and mutual gain than about genuine connection. When he retired, Harold found himself standing at a crossroads. The very friendships he'd worked so hard to maintain, the people he'd spent years trying to impress, slowly started to fade away. Initially, he felt a pang of emptiness, an urge to hold onto those old ties, to keep those connections alive. But then something clicked. Why should he keep trying to hold on to relationships that were built on nothing more than work and convenience? Why spend another moment chasing relationships that were never meaningful to begin with? Harold made a choice, and it changed everything. He turned his attention inward, focusing on things that truly brought him joy. He began revisiting old hobbies, rediscovering passions that had been buried for years. He let go of the desperate need to impress anyone. And in doing so, he discovered a sense of freedom he hadn't felt in decades. There was no more pretending, no more small talk just for the sake of keeping up appearances. Harold found that, without the constant pressure of social obligations, he was finally able to live for himself. For the first time in a long time, he didn't care if people liked him or not. He was finally at peace, understanding that true self-worth comes from within, not from external validation. And that, my friends, is the secret to this stage of life. When you stop looking for approval, when you stop pouring energy into friendships that don't serve your soul, you free up so much emotional space. You realize just how much time you wasted on relationships that were shallow, draining, and not worth the effort. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. The only opinion that matters now is your own. You are enough. And that's all you need to be. Number 2, peace becomes more valuable than socializing. As we age, our perspective shifts. What once seemed like a necessity, socializing, begins to feel like more of a choice. When we were younger, we might have felt that being around people, attending gatherings, and keeping up with a busy social calendar was vital to living a fulfilled life. The laughter, the noise, the busyness, it all felt like part of the vibrant energy of being alive. But as we move further into our golden years, we start to crave something entirely different. Peace. Not just any kind of peace, but a deep, soul-soothing stillness that washes over you like a wave of calm. Peace becomes a priceless commodity. It becomes the thing that matters most. It's not that we don't appreciate companionship or the joy of meaningful interactions, but after decades of trying to juggle it all, we realize that true peace, the kind where you're not constantly running to keep up with others, where there's no drama, no forced interactions, is something far more precious than endless socializing. Let's think about Margaret for a moment. Margaret, at 74, had a full and vibrant life, surrounded by friends and family. She was always the first to say yes to lunch dates, group calls, or holiday parties. Her calendar was packed, and she reveled in it. But over time, she started to feel a sense of exhaustion, the kind that comes not from physical tiredness but from social fatigue. Many of these social interactions had begun to feel hollow. Conversations started to repeat themselves, people complained endlessly, and some friends seemed more interested in gossip than in real connection. One day, Margaret had an epiphany. Enough is enough. She stopped apologizing for not attending every event or answering every phone call immediately. She began embracing the quiet moments. Long walks through the park, afternoons spent reading books she had been meaning to dive into for years, and the solitude that used to feel so foreign to her. And you know what? She discovered something truly profound. Solitude wasn't loneliness. It was peace. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. The act of pulling back from social obligations wasn't a withdrawal from life. It was a step toward a deeper kind of fulfillment. Margaret realized that the quieter moments allowed her to reconnect with herself in a way she hadn't been able to for years. She could hear her thoughts, savor her own company, and breathe in the serenity that had been missing for so long. It wasn't just about being alone. It was about being at peace with herself. And here's the beauty of it. When you reach a certain age, you don't need to constantly fill your days with noise and activity to feel connected. You don't need the validation that comes from always being available, always attending, always socializing. You can choose peace instead. You can choose calm over chaos, solitude over social pressure. If you've ever felt guilty about stepping back from the frenzy of social life, remember this: you're not missing out. You're gaining something far more valuable, a peace of mind that only deepens as you get older. So embrace the quiet. Relish in the moments of stillness. It's not about withdrawing from the world, but about finding your rhythm, your own space, and your peace. That's the beauty of life after 70. knowing that the greatest treasure you can hold on to is the peace within, the quiet moments that remind you that you've earned the right to rest, to simply be. Peace is not just a luxury, it's a life well lived. Number 3. Fewer friendships mean fewer disappointments. As we grow older, life brings with it invaluable lessons that become clearer with each passing year. One of the most profound revelations, especially by the time you hit 70, is the realization that not every person you call a friend is truly there for you. It's something we all have to come to terms with, even though it's one of the hardest truths to swallow. Over the years, we've all experienced it. Those friends who once seemed like family suddenly drift away. People who once made promises of lifelong support become distant when we need them most. Friendships that once felt deeply fulfilling turn out to be hollow, one-sided, or just plain empty. It stings, doesn't it? The heartache of giving, of showing up, and yet feeling abandoned or unimportant in return. By the time you reach your 70s, you've lived long enough to know that fewer friendships don't just mean fewer social obligations. They also mean fewer disappointments. You start to see it clearly. The weight of maintaining numerous relationships can sometimes leave you feeling emotionally drained, more burdened than fulfilled. Friendships, no matter how strong, always come with a set of unspoken expectations. You expect your friends to check in, to offer their support, to show up when it matters. But what happens when those expectations go unmet? You reach out, and they don't respond. You try, but it feels like you're the only one putting in the effort. You find yourself doing more than you're receiving, constantly offering emotional labor without so much as a thank you in return. Is that really how you want to spend your precious time? At this stage in life, that kind of emotional strain is just not worth it. Do you need it? No, you don't. And it takes time, a lot of time, to truly understand this. Take William, for instance. He's 78 now, and throughout his life, he's seen friendships come and go. Some of them ended naturally, as people simply grew apart. Others faded because William had finally come to the painful realization that he was the one always putting in the effort. For decades, he had known certain people, friends who had once been close, who had once promised to always be there. Yet, one by one, they drifted away. They became too busy, too preoccupied with their own lives, or simply too uninterested to keep the connection alive. At first, it was crushing. He wondered, what did I do wrong? Why am I always the one reaching out? But as the years went by, something changed. He realized it wasn't him. He hadn't changed. He had simply stopped tolerating friendships that weren't mutual, that didn't add value to his life. And that's the beauty of it all, isn't it? When you let go of the need to maintain a large circle of friends, you also let go of the disappointments and frustrations that come with unmet expectations. You stop feeling upset when someone doesn't reach out. You stop internalizing it when a friendship fades away or becomes distant. You stop carrying the weight of trying to keep things together with people who just aren't willing to make the same effort. Instead, you get the most beautiful gift: the freedom to focus on yourself, your needs, and your peace of mind. This doesn't mean you isolate yourself. Far from it. It means you start choosing quality over quantity. You choose relationships that feel effortless, that bring you joy and fulfillment. Whether it's the love of family, the deep connection with a lifelong friend, or simply a peaceful relationship with yourself, those are the bonds that matter most. And if, like me, you've ever felt that friendships have brought more heartache than happiness, remember this. It's okay to step back. It's okay to choose simplicity over complexity, peace over frustration. You don't need a long list of friends to feel fulfilled. What you truly need is to let go of the ones who were never truly there for you in the first place. Number 4. Your time becomes more precious. As we age, something shifts inside us. A deeper understanding, a quiet awakening to the truth that our time on this earth is limited. We start to see time, not as an endless resource, but as the most valuable thing we possess. In our younger years, it may have felt like there was always more of it to give away. more time to spend with friends, more time to invest in social circles, more time to worry about who's in our lives and who isn't. But by the time you hit 70, everything changes. You begin to look at every hour, every minute, every single moment as something precious, something that can never be replaced. And when you truly understand the value of your time, you start to make better choices about how you spend it. Friendships, while beautiful and fulfilling, also come with their time demands. There are calls to make, visits to schedule, messages to respond to. Friendships take effort. They require attention, and they take up space in our hearts and minds. And, while some relationships are worth investing in, many others are simply remnants of the past. Habits we carry out of obligation rather than genuine joy. So, when you're in your 70s, you have to ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? Does this friendship add to my happiness, or does it feel like just another task on my never-ending to-do list? Take Richard, for example. Richard, in his early 80s, had once been a social butterfly, attending dinner parties, going out with friends, hosting group outings, and chatting on the phone. But over time, something changed. What once brought him joy now felt draining. The long conversations that used to make him feel connected now felt like obligations. The social gatherings that once excited him started to feel like a heavy burden. And one day, as he sat through another lunch filled with meaningless small talk and constant complaints, he had a revelation. I don't want to live this way anymore. So he made a choice, one that was both difficult and liberating. He stopped saying yes out of habit, and began saying no when he didn't feel like attending. He stopped spending hours listening to gossip and complaints, and instead spent his time doing things that brought him joy. Reading, walking in the park, exploring new hobbies, and simply enjoying the peaceful solitude of his own company. And here's the surprising part. He didn't feel lonely. He felt more fulfilled than he ever had before because, at last, he was using his time for the things that truly mattered to him. That's the key. When you let go of the unnecessary friendships and obligations that no longer serve you, you gain something far more precious: time for yourself. Time to invest in the things you love. Time to enjoy life at your own pace, without the pressure of trying to please others. Time to focus on your happiness, instead of constantly meeting the needs of everyone else. So, if you ever find yourself questioning whether to keep up with certain friendships, ask yourself this one powerful question: is this the best use of my time? Because at this stage in life, you owe no one your time but yourself. You've earned the right to spend it however you choose. Number 5. True companionship comes from within. As we grow older, we are often told that happiness and fulfillment come from being surrounded by a large group of friends. The pressure to maintain a social circle can feel overwhelming at times. But here's a truth that many people fail to realize. The most meaningful companionship you will ever experience is the one you build with yourself. When you reach the age of 70, you've lived through decades of growth, lessons, heartache, and joy. You've spent a lifetime getting to know who you truly are. And with that self-awareness comes the most liberating realization of all. You are enough, just as you are. Throughout most of our lives, we are conditioned to believe that companionship must come from others. We are told that loneliness is a deep and painful affliction, something to avoid at all costs. Society pushes us to be social, to constantly interact, to feel validated by others. But there is a vast difference between being alone and feeling lonely. There's a unique and powerful joy in learning to be comfortable in your presence, in finding peace in solitude. For many older adults, this truth becomes evident only when they allow themselves the space to embrace being alone, not as a negative, but as an opportunity for deep self-reflection and healing. I think of Eleanor, a vibrant 76-year-old who spent much of her life believing she needed to fill her days with people and activity to be happy. She was always surrounded by friends, running errands, hosting get-togethers, and keeping herself busy. But as the years went by, something started to shift inside her. She began to feel an unsettling sense of exhaustion despite her social schedule. She wasn't replenished by the interactions. Instead, she felt drained. She realized that many of the friendships she had nurtured over the years were rooted in habit rather than genuine connection. There were no deep, meaningful bonds, just surface-level exchanges that left her feeling unfulfilled. Worse still, she often found herself pretending to be someone she wasn't, adjusting herself to fit into conversations, molding herself to meet others' expectations, just so she wouldn't feel isolated. One day, Eleanor made a bold decision. She stopped the relentless pursuit of social validation. She decided to be her companion, to spend her time the way she would if she were with a dear, cherished friend. She started taking long walks alone, savoring the quiet rhythm of her footsteps. She visited cafes with a good book, finding comfort in her thoughts rather than the need for forced small talk. She allowed herself the luxury of quiet evenings, reflecting on her life, and discovering passions she had long forgotten. The result? A sense of liberation. She felt lighter, more at peace, and happier than she had in years. This is what so many people overlook. True companionship isn't about how many friends or social engagements you have. It's about how comfortable you are in your skin, how much you cherish your own company. When you stop relying on external sources for entertainment, validation, or comfort, you open the door to a freedom that most will never know. You no longer need the distractions of others to fill your time or your soul. Instead, you become your source of joy, wisdom, and contentment. And here's the most beautiful part of it all. When you genuinely enjoy your own company, when you are at peace with who you are, you naturally attract the right people into your life. The right people will appear, not because you're chasing them, but because you no longer need them to fill a void. They'll respect your space, understand your values, and bring a sense of peace, not pressure, into your life. You'll find that relationships become effortless, and meaningful connections are made without you even trying. So, if you've ever been afraid that letting go of old friendships might leave you feeling alone, remember this. The most important company you can ever have is already with you. And when you embrace that truth, you will discover that you were never truly alone in the first place. Number 6. Letting go opens the door to a more fulfilling life. One of the most liberating things you can do in your later years is to simply let go. Let go of the pressure to maintain friendships that no longer serve you. Let go of the belief that your worth is tied to the number of people in your life. Let go of the idea that solitude equals loneliness. Because the moment you release these expectations, you open the door to a simpler, freer, and far more fulfilling life. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Many people, particularly as they age, hold on to friendships and social obligations out of sheer habit. They feel the need to attend gatherings they don't enjoy, respond to calls out of a sense of duty, and maintain relationships just because it's always been that way. But what if you didn't have to do any of that? What if you gave yourself the gift of letting go of friendships that feel like a chore, that no longer bring joy or meaning into your life? What if, instead, you focused your time and energy on the things that truly nourish your soul? Take James, for example. He's in his late 70s, and for years he believed that staying socially active was key to aging gracefully. He worked hard to keep in touch with old friends, attended countless social events, and kept his calendar full, thinking that the busier he was, the happier he'd feel. But one day, James had an epiphany. Despite all the social activity, he wasn't enjoying himself. He realized that many of his friendships had become shallow, built on routine rather than true connection. The more time he spent with others, the more drained he felt. It wasn't fulfilling, it was exhausting. So, James made a brave choice. He stopped forcing himself into situations that didn't bring him joy. He let go of friendships that no longer felt genuine, and instead, he began to pour his energy into the things that mattered most. His health, his hobbies, his passions. He took up new activities, spent more time in nature, and began to embrace the quiet moments that he had once feared. And in doing so, he discovered an incredible truth. He felt more at peace, more content, and more joyful than he had in years. Letting go doesn't mean shutting yourself off from the world. It means creating space for the things that truly fulfill you. It's about recognizing that your happiness isn't determined by the number of people in your life, but by how aligned your life is with your truest desires. When you let go of the need to please others, when you stop worrying about how many people you have around you, you begin to focus on what matters. You stop looking outward for validation, and you start looking inward for fulfillment. What happens when you embrace this mindset is nothing short of beautiful. You begin to cherish the small, simple moments, the sound of birds chirping in the morning, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the joy of reading a book in peace, or the warmth of a cup of tea shared with someone who truly understands you. You begin to realize that life doesn't have to be filled with obligations or appearances. True fulfillment comes from living in a way that feels authentic and meaningful to you, and when you let go of the social pressures, that life becomes possible. So, if you've ever felt the weight of maintaining friendships out of obligation, ask yourself this: is this relationship bringing me joy, or am I holding on out of habit? Because once you permit yourself to release what no longer serves you, you'll discover that life becomes simpler, lighter, and more fulfilling in ways you never imagined. You open the door to a life that's richer, fuller, and most importantly, your own. As we wrap up today's video, I want to take a moment to reflect on what we've explored together. We've discussed the power of true companionship, the incredible peace that comes from embracing solitude, and the freedom found in letting go of relationships and expectations that no longer serve us. These lessons are transformative, especially as we age, and they remind us of the importance of self-awareness, self-compassion, and the courage to live life on our terms. Now, I want to hear from you. What have you learned so far? Is there a specific idea that resonated with you or something you're inspired to bring into your own life? Please share one thing you've learned and plan to put into practice in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps us create more content that empowers and inspires people just like you. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you in the comments.